In this video, I am taking apart the rest of the fence, and I'm doing it in small sections. And that's kind of what I want to point out here, is that you can actually just grab your hammer and stand on the other side of the fence like I'm about to do here and just knock off each section of the fencing and work your way through the entire fence. And then when you get to the railing, what I have my left hand on, and I'm cutting with a sawzall, you can simply just knock that apart with a hammer. This is not that complicated, but I do need to point out that you can't go at this thing most of the time like a bull in a china shop. I would, advise doing it with caution and safety, maybe even using some safety glasses. And you can see here where I'm going to pull out I just pulled out the section of the fence. You're not always going to come to a wood post on an old fence that isn't rotted. And if that's the case, and the fence posts are in good shape, why are you taking the entire fence down? You might just want to remove some of the fence and make some repairs. But most of the time, the fence posts are going to be rotted and, falling apart. So, like I said, small sections. Don't go at this thing. I wouldn't advise going at it with a big sledgehammer. And I've done it before. I've went in and hit this stuff with a bigger hammer, and even used 2x4s. Stood on the other side of it with an 8-foot 2x4 and instead of a hammer, and just simply knock big sections of the fence apart. And you could always use a 2x6 too, something like that. And like I said, you can work in small sections if you want. Take the whole fence down at once. Go for it. You can see where I have one section that's a little wobbly there, and I'm going to start on that side and then cut each section of the fence, because the fence post on the right-hand side is actually going to be still supporting the fence. So not a lot of, this isn't rocket science here. I made the video as part of my series on some of my home projects I've done around the house, and thought they might help people when they are. Again, you can see right there where that section of the fence was going to come at me. If I'm not paying attention, you're not paying attention, and you just start cutting this stuff apart, you're going to get clobbered with some of this stuff. And of course, there's my pile. The neighbor is going to haul away the fence post, or all the fence stuff. And you don't need to cut everything too. Some of this stuff, it's going to be, the nails are going to be loose, the wood's going to be rotted, and this can be an advantage and a disadvantage. You could be cutting a section of the fence that you think is, stable, and it's not. And you cut a section, and either section, the one on the right or the left, falls down. You just don't want it falling down on top of you. Now, here's a post here that is sturdy. I'm going to have to remove it probably remove the base of it, and I forget what I did when to remove it. But if you come to a case like this, there are plenty of things you can do to remove a fence post, and I'll try and put a link here if I remember. If I forget, just come back and let me know. Leave a comment in the comment area or email me something, and I'll see if I can find the video. Now, I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. You can watch the rest of the video. I think we're about halfway through the video. This is on double speed. And, if you get, you pretty much have it. You got an idea of what I'm doing, you don't have to watch the rest of the video. But if you want to, I will stick with you and narrate what I have here. And you can see where this fence was falling apart, and I just simply grabbed some old scrap boards and put some screws in on this side to hold them all together. And of course it worked. There are a lot of ways you can repair. You can see I'm cutting the piece of scrap wood that I had at the bottom. And of course got to go through a couple more. But some of these fences I've torn apart over the years, they're in bad shape. And they're practically ready to fall down anyway. You can almost just push them over And, if that's the case, you can push them over and cut everything up on the ground. And I do recommend, if you are going to cut the fence into smaller pieces, do it on the ground. It's a lot easier to do it on the ground than it is to, if you could just imagine me with my Sawzall trying to cut through the middle of the fence here horizontally, or with a skill saw. It's going to be a lot easier if I have it on the ground, cutting it, than it is standing up. And I don't just mean easier, it's going to be safer. The saw blade might not bind as much. But again, look how convenient it is. I'm cutting them into sections that I can carry. You're going to be able to throw in a truck. All these sections will fit in the truck. And again, you can see there, I didn't cut anything. I just grabbed my hammer and pulled that section apart. You don't have to cut everything. And there's my brace holding up that side of the fence. Taking out the screws. And some of the screws you can save. I've saved plenty of them and reused them over the years. And this fence post, of course, is in pretty bad shape. I already braced it up. I have a brace there that's going down to the ground in one of my planters. And again, I asked my neighbor, I didn't really mind. I go, do you want me to fix the fence or do you want to replace it? And he said, no, let's go ahead and replace it. I think I've lived here for about 12 years. And the fence was in bad shape when I first moved in. I just propped it up and figured the original neighbor did not care. The second neighbor told me that they didn't have the money to replace the fence. And the neighbor that I have now just wanted the fence replaced. And of course I made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Free labor, who can pass that up? Gave me an opportunity to make this video. Whether it helps or it doesn't, at least the video's been made, and I'm sure it'll help somebody over time. And see, that those were pieces that were rotted out. Look at it. I'm cutting, and those pieces, if I'm not paying attention, any piece above you got to pay attention to. It's rotted. I'm cutting. It vibrates the piece loose and clobbers you in the head. Not a good deal. And again, look, it lifted that right out of the concrete footing because the post was in such bad shape. And I found out too later on when I was tearing this thing apart that this was actually an old gate. And you'll see it at the very end of the video. Here, we're almost at the end of the video. You'll see where I actually grabbed my hammer and separate it. And there's a hinge there. So at one time this was a gate. I don't know what, I find it hard to imagine why you would have had a gate up here, but maybe the neighbors used it to go back and forth into their yards. And I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. We are at the end of the video, or I should say almost at the end. And if you like the video, you know what to do. Hit the old thumbs up button. And there I am at double the speed, looking like a maniac. Half the speed, look like I'm probably still a maniac. Okay, I will wrap this video up right there and hope you enjoyed it. And make sure you watch the rest of the series. If you, and again, you don't got to watch the whole series. Watch sections of it if you need more help in one area than you might in another area.